The storm started without warning. One moment the sky was calm, and the next it was filled with violent purple clouds. Lightning split the sky like angry claws, shaking the ground every few seconds. People in the valley started running for safe places, but one girl had no place to run. Her name was Lyra. She was young, brave, and known for her sharp mind. But today, none of that helped her. She had been out collecting rare plants when the sky broke open above her and the deadly storm came crashing down. The storm on her planet wasn't normal rain. It was dangerous, full of electric wind that could burn skin and melt metal. Everyone knew that if the storm touched you, you died within seconds. Lyra felt the heat of the storm chasing her like a living creature. Her heart beat fast as she ran through the forest. Branches broke under her feet, leaves slapped against her face, and her breath came out in short bursts. She looked back once and saw the storm tearing trees apart. She knew she had only minutes before it reached her. That's when she saw it. A small metal door built into the side of a rocky hill. It looked old, strange, and not made by her people. But the storm was almost on top of her, and she had no other choice. With shaking hands, Lyra pulled the door open and rushed inside. The moment she stepped in, the door slammed shut behind her as if the wind itself pushed it closed. Inside the shelter, everything was dark for a moment. Lyra leaned against the wall and tried to calm her breathing. She wiped the dust from her face and told herself she was safe now, safe from the deadly storm. But then she heard something, a soft clicking sound, not from the storm, not from the metal door, but from deeper inside the shelter. Her eyes adjusted to the dim light. Slowly, shapes came into focus. The room was filled with strange technology, glowing panels, metal shelves, and tools she had never seen before. This place was not built by her people, and that made her chest tighten with fear. Then she saw him, a tall figure sitting near a small control panel. He stood up slowly when he noticed her. His footsteps were heavy, strange, different. Lyra's breath stopped. Her legs froze. Her entire body went rigid with fear, because she recognized the stories. Stories she learned since childhood. Stories her people whispered in the dark. Stories about a dangerous species who once roamed the stars. A species believed to be extinct for many years. A species feared for their strength and intelligence. A human. The man looked just as the old tales described them. Broad shoulders, strange smooth skin, strong facial features. He didn't look violent, but he didn't look friendly either. He looked surprised. For a moment, the storm outside screamed louder than both of them. Purple lightning flashed through a small window, filling the room with sharp light. Lyra took one slow step backward, pressing herself against the metal wall. Her hands trembled, and she searched for a weapon, a tool, anything she could use to defend herself. The human raised his hand slowly, showing he carried nothing dangerous. His voice was deep but calm when he spoke. "Don't be afraid," he said. "You're safe here." But Lyra didn't believe him. Her people taught her that humans were monsters from the past, creators of war, destroyers of planets. Yet this one stood in front of her with gentle eyes. Why? Who was he? Why was he here? And why was a human alive in the first place? The storm outside roared like a beast. But inside the shelter, a different kind of storm had begun. A storm of questions, fear, and a meeting that could change everything. Lyra's heart hammered inside her chest like it wanted to escape. She pressed her back harder against the cold metal wall, trying to make herself as small as possible. The human took one slow step forward, and she instantly flinched. He stopped, understanding her fear. "My name is Evan," he said in a steady voice. His tone was calm, but Lyra could hear a tired kind of sadness behind it. "I won't hurt you," he added, but words meant nothing to her kind. Humans were legends of destruction, not safety. She swallowed hard, her throat dry, her hands still shaking. "Stay away from me," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Evan froze, raising his hands again to show he meant no danger. The storm outside continued to roar violently, making the shelter tremble. The whole room flashed purple as lightning cracked across the sky. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Lyra realized she had truly escaped death, only to possibly face a different kind of danger now. Look, Evans said softly, if you go back out there, the storm will kill you in seconds. He pointed at the control panel beside him. I seal this shelter. Nothing can break in. Lyra didn't know what to believe, but she did know the storm outside was lethal. She could feel its heat even from inside the shelter. She took a shaky breath and stayed silent. Evan watched her for a long moment. He seemed to be thinking, choosing his words carefully. Then he stepped back, giving her space. He sat down again at the control panel, but he did not turn his back on her. He stayed sideways, so she could see his hands clearly. It was a gesture of trust, a gesture she didn't expect from a human. Lyra slowly scanned the shelter. There were strange machines humming softly, tools that glowed, a small heater giving warm air, and a shelf filled with boxes and food packets marked with unreadable symbols. Everything inside seemed advanced, too advanced, much more advanced than anything her people used. She wondered how long this human had lived here, and why he was hiding in such a remote place. Evan finally spoke again, his voice low, like he didn't want to scare her. You're from the Valley tribe, right? Lyra's eyes widened. How do you know that? She asked, unable to hide her shock. He gave a small smile, one filled with tiredness. I've watched your people from a distance. I didn't want to cause panic, and I didn't know how you would react. Lyra felt a cold wave rush through her stomach. A human watching them? Studying them? Why? Before she could respond, the shelter suddenly shook hard. A deep booming sound echoed from outside. Evan rushed to the control panel, fingers flying over buttons. Lyra stumbled forward as the floor vibrated beneath her. What was that? She cried, fear rising again. Evan's jaw tightened. This storm, it's stronger than any before. He checked the readings on the screen. This isn't natural, he whispered to himself. It can't be. Lyra's fear mixed with confusion. Not natural? What did that mean? Evan turned toward her, his expression serious. Lyra, this storm is not a normal weather event. It's something else. Her breath caught. Something else? Like what? He looked directly into her eyes. Something intelligent. The shelter shook again, louder this time. Dust fell from the walls. Lights flickered, and a loud metallic groan came from the entrance. The storm was striking the shelter itself, as if it knew they were inside. Evan grabbed a glowing device and moved toward the door. Lyra felt her legs weaken. What is happening? She whispered. Evan stopped and looked back at her. His eyes were full of worry and something darker. Fear. This storm isn't chasing you, he said slowly. It's chasing me. Lyra's blood ran cold. Why would a storm chase a human? What was Evan hiding? And what was waiting outside in that deadly purple chaos? The answers were coming, but they would not be easy, and they would not be safe. The shelter's metal walls groaned again as the storm slammed against it like a living beast. Lyra felt the vibration move up her legs and into her chest. Every instinct inside her screamed to run, but there was nowhere left to go. Evan stood near the door with a glowing device in his hand. His shoulders were tense, his jaw tight, and his eyes held a fear that made Lyra's skin crawl. Humans, according to her people, were fearless monsters. But this human was afraid, truly afraid, and that terrified her even more. What do you mean the storm is chasing you? Lyra asked, her voice trembling. Evan didn't answer right away. He watched the storm readings on the screen. The swirling purple mass outside was growing stronger, faster, almost aware. He finally spoke. This storm didn't appear naturally. It was created. Lyra blinked in shock. Created? By who? Evan hesitated before he answered. By something that wants me dead. The room fell silent except for the rumbling storm outside. Lyra tried to make sense of his words. Why would anything want to kill you? You're just one human. Evan let out a bitter laugh. Exactly. The last one. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. What? She whispered. Her people believed humans were gone. vanished from the galaxy after destroying themselves. But Evan's words carried a painful truth. The human race is extinct, he said quietly. I'm the only one left. Lyra stared at him. This wasn't a monster. This was a lonely survivor. A single being hunted by something powerful enough to manipulate storms. How did you survive? She asked softly. Evan opened a small metal container and pulled out a device shaped like a crystal, glowing faint blue. This, he said, it protects me. It keeps me alive. But it also exposes me. Lida Fronit. I don't understand. Evan walked to the control panel and placed the crystal in a circular slot. The shelter lights flickered, then brightened. A holographic map appeared in the air, showing a large, swirling storm and a bright dot in its center. That dot is me, Evan said. The storm is tracking the energy this crystal gives. But why would the storm chase you? Lyra asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Evan's face darkened. Because the storm is controlled by the enemy that destroyed my people. Lyra felt the air leave her lungs. She looked at the storm on the hologram again, a massive moving thing, almost like a creature searching for prey. Your enemy? She whispered. You mean something is alive inside that storm? Evan nodded once. It's not just alive, it's intelligent. It knows I'm here, and it wants to finish what it started. Before Lyra could respond, the shelter shook with a violent impact. The lights flickered and a loud alarm began to beep. Red warnings flashed across the control panel. Evan cursed under his breath. It's trying to break in. What do we do? Lyra cried, panic rising like fire. Evan moved quickly, pressing buttons on the panel. We need to activate the deeper level of the shelter. It's reinforced. It might hold the storm back. He grabbed a small pack and threw it over his shoulder. Stay close to me. Don't touch anything unless I tell you. Lyra nodded, fear gripping her tightly. He moved to the back wall and kicked a metal plate. It slid open, revealing a narrow passage leading down into darkness. Cold air poured from below, carrying a faint echo, almost like a whisper. The storm won't reach us down there, Evan said. But what's inside might be worse. Lyra stared at him. What do you mean? Evan looked at the dark passage with a haunted expression. That shelter level was built by humans long ago. For one purpose. Lyra swallowed hard. What purpose? Evan met her eyes. To hide from something we were never supposed to wake. Lightning cracked above them. The door shook violently. Lyra knew they had no choice. She followed Evan down into the darkness, unaware that something was already awake down there, and it had been waiting for a very long time. The metal steps creaked under Lyra's feet as she followed Evan down the narrow passage. Cold air wrapped around her like icy hands. The deeper they went, the darker it became. Only a small emergency light flickered above them, throwing long shadows that moved like living shapes. Lyra wanted to ask 1,000 questions. She wanted to turn back, but the storm above them shook the shelter again. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the passage vibrated. There was no going back now. Evan reached the bottom of the stairway and stopped at a thick metal door. Strange symbols were carved across its surface. Symbols she didn't recognize, but Evan clearly did. His expression grew tense, almost fearful. He placed his hand on the cold metal. This door, he whispered. My people locked it for a reason. Lyra's stomach twisted. What's behind it? Evan didn't answer. Instead, he took a deep breath and typed a code into a keypad beside the door. Lights turned red, then green. The door slid open with a long, painful groan. A cold wind rushed out, hitting them like a slap. The room inside was huge, dark and silent. Shelves, machines, and glowing screens lined the walls. Dust lay thick on everything. This place had not been touched in decades, maybe centuries. Lyra stepped inside slowly. The ground felt colder here. She noticed deep claw marks on the far wall, old but terrifying. Something strong had attacked this place once. Evan walked toward a large glass container in the center of the room. The container was cracked, empty, and covered in frost. Lyra felt her chest tighten. What was kept in here? She asked quietly. Evan rubbed a hand over the broken glass. His voice was heavy when he finally answered. Something my people created, something powerful, something dangerous. Lyra took a step back. You created the storm? No, Evan said quickly. But this thing, it was meant to control weather systems, a tool to help damage planets, until it became something else. The shelter shook violently again. A loud crack echoed from above, like metal tearing apart. Lyra stumbled and grabbed a nearby console for support. Is that the storm? She asked with a fearful whisper. Evan looked up at the ceiling. No, he said, voice tight. That's something trying to get inside. Lyra's heart dropped. Something. Evan nodded slowly. The storm isn't the only thing hunting me. Before she could ask more, a sudden loud hiss filled the room. Lights flickered, then fully turned on. Machines began waking from decades of sleep, humming and glowing. Lyra covered her ears as a high-pitched sound echoed. It felt like the room itself was screaming. Stay behind me, Evan shouted. He pulled a metal rod-like device from his bag. The end of it lit up with blue energy, humming softly. Lyra felt the air around her grow heavy. Like pressure was building, something unseen moved through the room. A shifting shadow creeping across the walls. What is that? She whispered, voice shaking. Evan didn't take his eyes off the shadow. It escaped from the container. It survived all these years. Lyra felt cold fear crawl up her spine. You said it was built to control weather. Is it controlling the storm outside? Evan nodded once. And now it knows I'm here. The shadow formed a shape, tall, thin, almost human, but not. Its glowing white eyes opened in the darkness. Lyra gasped, stepping back until she hit a metal shelf. The creature let out a deep, vibrating sound like distant thunder. Evan stepped in front of her, raising the glowing rod. Don't move, he shouted at the creature. But the creature didn't care. It took one slow step forward, then another. The air crackled with electricity around it. Lyra watched in horror as its fingers extended like long blades of lightning. It reached out toward her, its glowing eyes locked on her face. Evan moved fast, stepping between her and the creature. A surge of blue energy exploded from the rod, pushing the creature back. It hissed in anger, the sound shaking the entire room. Evan grabbed Lyra's wrist. We have to get out now, he yelled. The creature lunged again, faster than before. Lyra screamed as the room filled with blinding light. The storm above them thundered in response. The shelter began to crack around them, and deep below the surface, something ancient had awakened, something that wasn't going to let them leave alive. The blinding light faded, but the fear didn't. Lyra stumbled as Evan pulled her away from the awakened creature. The metal floor shook with every step they took. Sparks rained down from broken wires above. The shelter groaned like it was dying. Behind them, the creature let out a roar that felt more like thunder than a voice. Its glowing white eyes sliced through the dark. It moved in quick, sharp motions, almost like the storm outside was controlling it. Faster, Evan shouted, gripping Lyra's wrist tightly. They rushed toward a side door at the end of the deep-level chamber. The creature's lightning-filled arms cracked through machines like they were paper. Every hit sent waves of electricity through the room. Lyra's breath was ragged. Her legs felt weak, but the fear inside her pushed her forward. She had never imagined she would run beside a human. Not away from him, but with him, away from something much worse. Evan slammed his hand on a panel beside the door. For a moment, nothing happened. The door didn't move. Lyra gasped. It stuck. The creature screeched again, a long, sharp sound that echoed through Lyra's bones. The lights flickered violently. The air grew hotter, charged with electricity. Evan hit the panel again, harder this time. The door finally slid open just enough for them to squeeze through. Evan pushed Lyra first, forcing her inside. Then he slipped in after her and slammed the emergency lock. The creature smashed into the door instantly. The metal dented inward. Lyra jumped back in horror. Is it going to break through? She asked, voice shaking. Her heart felt like it was going to tear itself apart. Evan breathed heavily, sweat dripping down his face. Not immediately, but we don't have much time. He leaned against the wall, tried to catch his breath. For the first time, Lyra saw something she never expected. Tiredness, pain, loneliness. This human had been running from this monster for years, maybe longer. Evan, she whispered, what is that thing? He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly. It's called a Tempest Core. Originally, it was a machine. Then it became something alive. Lyra felt a cold chill run down her spine. You created it? No, he said quietly. My ancestors did. He walked toward a glowing console on the wall. His fingers hovered over the buttons, but didn't press anything yet. The Tempest Core was designed to repair damaged atmospheres, he explained, but something went wrong. It gained awareness, emotions, hunger. Lyra hugged her arms around herself as the creature hit the door again. Each impact caused the room to tremble. It was relentless, like it remembered Evan, like it hated him. But why chase you? She asked. You weren't even born when your people made it. Evan's jaw tightened. It remembers my DNA. It's programmed to destroy every human signal it detects. And I'm the last one, so it'll keep hunting me until I die. The truth settled into Lyra like ice. This wasn't just a storm. This wasn't just a creature. This was a living weapon with a single purpose. And that purpose was Evan. The console beside Evan suddenly beeped. Red warnings flashed on the screen. Breach imminent. It's breaking through, Lyra whispered, panic rising again. Evan nodded grimly. We need to activate the old human transport tunnel. It leads outside the shelter, far from where the storm can reach. But, Lyra said softly, if we leave, the storm will hunt you again. He paused, looking at her with a strange, unreadable expression. It doesn't just hunt me anymore, he said quietly. It sensed you too. Lyra's stomach dropped. Me? Why would it care about me? Because, Evan said, voice shaking slightly, you were my shelter. You were near me, and now it sees you as part of my signal. The creature slammed the door again. The metal tore open slightly, letting in a flicker of blinding white light. Lyra cried out as sparks exploded around them. Evan grabbed her hand tightly. There was fear in his eyes, but there was determination too. We run together, he said, or we die here. And at that moment, Lyra realized something terrifying. The creature didn't just remember Evan. It remembered everyone it could destroy, and now she was one of them. The door behind them split open, and the Tempest Core entered the room, lightning pouring from its body like living fire. Evan pulled Lyra toward the tunnel door. The creature screamed. The storm above them rumbled, and everything Lyra thought she knew about fear shattered into pieces. The tunnel door slid open just as the Tempest Core burst through the cracked metal behind them. A blast of lightning shot across the room, striking the wall where Lyra had been standing only seconds earlier. Evan yanked her inside the tunnel, and the door slammed shut, sealing them in darkness. The tunnel was cold and narrow. Old metal pipes lined the walls, dripping with moisture. A faint blue emergency light flickered above them, barely enough to see Evan's face. Lyra tried to breathe slowly, but her lungs felt tight. Behind the sealed door, the Tempest Core screeched. Its sharp, thunder-like cry echoed through the walls. It wanted them, both of them. Keep moving, Evan said, his voice low but firm. It won't stop until it finds us. They ran deeper into the tunnel. Their footsteps echoed like they were being chased by ghosts. Lyra's heart pounded so loud she feared the creature might hear it. As they turned a corner, Lyra noticed something strange. Symbols carved into the tunnel walls, glowing faintly. They were old, but the glow made them feel alive. What are these? She asked, brushing her fingers lightly over them. Evan slowed down, glanced at the markings, and his face changed. This is human writing, he said softly. Ancient human writing. Lida Furonit. But it doesn't look like the writing on your machines. That's because it's older, Evan replied. Older than any human technology we used above ground. He traced one symbol with his hand. His expression grew darker with every second. My people didn't just hide from the Tempest core, he whispered. They had something else down here. Before Lyra could ask what he meant, the tunnel shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a deep rumble echoed behind them. It broke the first door. Evan shouted, "We need to get to the chamber ahead. Hurry!" They sprinted again, turning left, then right, following a path that seemed endless. The tunnel sloped downward, leading them into colder air. Their breath became visible, white and shaky. Finally, they reached a massive circular chamber. The ceiling rose high above them, supported by metal beams that looked ready to collapse. In the center stood a large cylindrical machine, about twice Evan's height. Its surface glowed with blue and gold symbols, unlike anything Lyra had seen before. "What is that?" she asked in awe. Evan walked forward slowly. His hand trembled as he reached out toward it. "This is impossible," he whispered. "I thought it was destroyed." "Evan," Lyra said nervously, "what is it?" He turned to her. "This is a human core archive, a living memory bank. It stores knowledge, history, and sometimes power." Lyra stepped back. "Why would your people hide this?" Evan swallowed hard. "Because it can control the Tempest core." Lyra's eyes widened. "So we can stop it." "Maybe," Evan said, "but there's a problem." He placed his hand on the glowing surface. Immediately, the machine reacted. Lights flared up around them, and the chamber hummed with energy. Evan's body stiffened. His eyes widened in shock. Lyra grabbed his shoulders. "Evan, what's happening?" He didn't answer. His voice was trapped in his throat. The machine was scanning him, reading his DNA, remembering him, accepting him. Then the chamber shook violently. The Tempest core's roar echoed from the tunnel entrance. Light flashed from its body, filling the tunnel with electricity. "It found us," Lyra whispered, terror flooding her voice. Evan gasped as the archive released him. He stumbled back, but caught himself. "It wants to connect to me," he said breathlessly. "It sees me as the last heir to human command." The Tempest core slammed into the chamber doorway. Its blazing white eyes locked on Evan. Lightning crackled around it like wings of fire. Lyra grabbed Evan's arm. "Evan, can you control it? Can you shut it down?" He met her eyes, fear, pain, and hope swirling inside his. "If I connect," he said, "the archive might give me control." But what?" Lyra demanded. He looked at the core archive, then at the raging creature forcing its way in. "If I connect, it might kill me." The Tempest core roared. The chamber filled with blinding light. Lyra and Evan had seconds to choose between life or extinction. The chamber shook so hard that dust rained from the ceiling in thick clouds. The Tempest core forced its body halfway through the doorway. Its lightning-filled arms scraped the metal walls, melting them like wax. Its glowing white eyes locked on Evan. Not on Lyra, not on the room. Only on Evan. Lyra felt her heart hammer so loudly it drowned out the storm's roar. She grabbed Evan's arm tightly. "We don't have time," she hissed. "You have to choose now." Evan stared at the human core archive. Its swirling blue and gold lights pulsed like a beating heart, calling to him, pulling him toward it. "If I connect to that machine," he whispered, "I could override the Tempest core's command. I could shut it down forever." "Then do it." Lyra couldn't. Her voice cracked with fear. The Tempest core screeched again, a sound sharp enough to make their ears ring. Evan didn't move. His eyes darkened with a deeper truth he hadn't spoken yet. "There's one thing you don't understand," he said quietly. "If I connect to the archive, it will imprint my mind into the system, and it will take my life." Lyra froze. Her breath caught in her throat. "Evan, no," she whispered. "There must be another way." He shook his head. "If I run, the storm will follow me. It will destroy everything in its path to get to me. Your people, your entire world." Another blast struck the chamber entrance. The Tempest core forced its body farther inside. Electricity poured from its form, smashing consoles, burning walls. its arms extended like blades of lightning toward Evan. Lira screaming. Evan, it's coming. You don't have time. He looked at her, really looked at her. His eyes soft, warm, filled with something she didn't expect. Gratitude. You gave me something my people lost long ago, he said. Hope. Lyra's throat tightened. Her eyes burned. Don't say goodbye, she whispered. Please don't. Evan smiled, weak, sad, but real. I'm not saying goodbye, he said. I'm giving you a future. The Tempest core howled. Its arms shot forward. Lightning fired across the chamber. Lyra covered her face, and Evan moved, faster than she had ever seen him. He stepped directly into the heart of the core archive. The machine reacted instantly. Golden tendrils of energy wrapped around his body, pulling him inside, locking him into its system. Evan, Lyra screamed, reaching for him, but her hand passed through the energy barrier. He was already too far inside. The Tempest core lunged forward, but the archive activated. Light exploded from its center. A shock wave blasted outward, slamming the creature into the wall. The chamber filled with pure white light, blinding, burning, shaking everything. Lyra fell to the floor, covering her head. The storm outside screamed. The creature roared. And then, silence. Deep, empty silence. Even the storm's roar faded away. Lyra slowly lifted her head. The creature was gone. Not broken, not dead, but dissolved into thin air, like smoke blown away by wind. She looked at the core archive. Its lights dimmed. Its humming slowly faded. And behind the transparent energy shield, Evan's body was no longer solid. He was becoming light, a shape made of memory and code. Fading. Evan, she whispered, her voice shaking. Can you hear me? A soft glow pulsed inside the machine. Then a faint voice, echoing, gentle, almost far away. Lyra. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I'm here, she said. I'm right here. His voice came again, weaker now. The storm is gone. Your world is safe. Live well. For both of us. The final light faded, and the core archive shut down completely. Lyra sank to her knees, her body trembling, her heart breaking. The last human gone. But outside, the storm clouds parted. The sky softened into calm blue. For the first time in years, the world breathed in peace. Lyra stood slowly, weeping her tears. She looked at the silent machine, the place where Evan saved them all. You weren't a monster, she whispered. You were a hero. And she walked out of the chamber into the new, quiet world, carrying the memory of the last human and the story she would tell for generations. A story of storm, survival, and a friendship that changed the fate of two species.